Hey everybody, welcome to this War Room segment here with Small Town Underground. We really appreciate Antonio Jones for giving us this opportunity. We tried to do this live, but as usual, there's always some technical difficulties that end up plaguing us from getting together. And that's why it's so important for you to support War Room Georgia and Small Town Underground, because we are the peasants on the ground trying to get this stuff out and do it the right way. So for this segment that we're doing, this would be a recorded segment. I have Ann Eubank and Amanda Prettyman with us today, and both incredible activists. Ann is in Alabama. Of course, Amanda, a lot of you guys know her from Georgia. And these ladies are the top of their game when it comes to information. And what we really wanted to cover today was kind of piggybacking off of last week's segment that Antonio did with Ann. You know, a lot of us are paying attention to what they call Agenda 2030, and we you know, this is not some sort of conspiracy theory. This is the real deal. We have global entities that are pushing us to what I consider this one world government structure. A lot of things, a lot of groundwork is being laid in place right under the surface that we can't see. And so I think it's important, as these ladies do, that we identify some of these ways that our I guess our whole civilization is being pushed into this kind of technocratic future. And you might think this is crazy. You can put on your tinfoil hat all you want, but we can assure you that these are real, and we're going to be laying out some examples of real world situations that are happening. So I first want to introduce to the audience Amanda. Tell us a little about yourself, and then I'll introduce you as well, Ann. So go ahead, Amanda.
Well, I live in Bibb County, and I'm a member of the Republican Party, local party, and I've just gotten involved since 2020 with mainly focused on election stuff. It's all important, kind of all ties together, but the election is what really woke me up and got me into this.
Great, and we welcome you to the show, Amanda. Ann, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ann Eubank from Hoover, Alabama, which is in Jefferson County. I've been doing this since 2009 when the UN and Obama brought out Common Core, which is part of it was at that time Agenda 21. And they've just developed step by step all the way through 2050 and the World Economic Forum. So I've been fighting this battle for a whole lot of years, and they just keep rolling along. And I try to educate people to let them know what their government is allowing to be done to them.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of folks might be familiar with the term white papers. Obviously, there are books that are written all over throughout the decades that set up this sort of this technocratic, government. We see it in Hollywood and movies. There's a lot of stories coming out about even just example the Simpsons. How everybody talks about the Simpsons being able to predict the future. Well, there's a couple of whistleblowers out with a story about how they actually get these things from the CIA, and they get these scripts written for them ahead of time. I mean, this is not like crazy talk. This is the real deal that we live with every day, and it's all they have to tell us what they're doing ahead of time, and it's been rolling this way for some time. It's like they've been waiting on the technology, and here we are at the cusp of it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to lay out a couple of things today. There's a myriad of discussion to be had in several different categories. So we picked out a few to kind of talk about, and I've got some links that I'm going to pull up as well to go along with it. And I think we're going to start with Amanda. And you have a couple of very interesting stories about flock cameras. So this is going to be a little educational. We're going to, a lot of people will be asking, what on earth is a flock camera? So you want to start there, Amanda?
Sure. Well, so I have a friend and her son-in-law. So he was driving his work vehicle, and I guess it had an expired tag. It's a company vehicle. And some family member of his worked for the police department in the county in Georgia, and called him and said, "Hey, you got your expired tag ran across. You need to, update your tag." And it was these cameras that are tracking all the, car tags. And so we were like, oh, so they're tracking people. He told my friend about it. And we also had talked to our sheriff, or we had like a little town hall that our sheriff came to, and he told us that it was a government grant, I believe over 3 years. I've forgotten the specifics. I didn't write it down at the time. But and then after that, it's on the local taxpayer. And, but they entice the local government to adopt things by saying, oh, we'll give you a grant. They dangle that money, get them to do it. And then, it's just like we were talking, the Dominion voting machines,
That's right.
And then you're picking up the tab eventually. And then he said, the cameras are not the most expensive part, it's the data storage. So we're like, well, where is that data being stored? What are you doing with it? Is AI sorting through this? And, so that's the main story I have to tell. And then we talked about some articles.
Right. So the flock cameras, I wanted to bring up the definition, and basically if you just type it into Google, it says flock safety cameras are a type of automated license plate reader, right? ALRP, that captures images of vehicles, focusing on their license plates and other identifying characteristics. They're designed to help communities, law enforcement, and businesses prevent and solve crimes by providing actual evidence and real-time alerts. Now that sounds great, doesn't it? You go from state to state and you get your Georgia Peach Pass or your Florida Pass and Sun Pass, so you can get on all these roads. And so the technology is quite interesting, how these high-speed cameras can capture your license plates. Of course, if you don't pay it, you're going to get a ticket in the mail. And now we're seeing these being put into school zones and different areas. I mean, obviously, we realize that the thousands and thousands of cameras that are going to be up recording every day of our life at every red light, it's looking like, again, what you said. These government grants, they come in and they pay for all these stuff off the taxpayers' backs, but then they end up divvying it back out to the counties, and your taxpayer dollars continue to fund these programs. And we have no idea what they're capturing, where they're putting it, how they're using it, right? Ann, is that about right?
Yeah, but y'all are just brushing. Y'all doing a flyover,
Right.
The flock cameras not only used in school zones, they are actually being used by neighborhoods. All of this information is being fed into a database. It started back when ARPA funds in 2014, which in Alabama we call it WIOA, Workforce and Innovation Opportunity Act, put all of this money out there. It was passed by Obama to collect all this data. And there's even a program here in Alabama. We had one city ask the citizens who had Ring cameras or any kind of security camera that was connected to the internet to allow the flock cameras to connect to make one big surveillance system. So we are actually moving towards, not only can they do the tags, they can do what kind of car it is, if it's got any identifying features. And so all of it's going in a database. There are people who are now standing against it, saying it's actually against the Fourth Amendment, unlawful search and seizure of collecting this information. And actually the AI computers and data systems that it's going into are now becoming predictive. They can predict if there's going to be a crime. What was
Kinda
it?
like
the Tom
Minority Report.
Exactly. So Tom Cruise is getting those internet things too. So it's not just tag readers.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a whole lot more than just it. We will be China before it's over,
Right.
where the facial recognition, that every step you take will be counted, every place you go. And in the Internet of Things, where we have smart refrigerators, smart stoves, smart everything can communicate together.
Right.
And if you people think I'm crazy, go read the World Economic Forum's plan,
Right.
because that's where we're going.
That's right. Yeah. Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum. These are all real things. I can't remember, was it 3 different books that Klaus Schwab had released about all of these things coming to pass? One world government, one world religion. China is probably, I guess you guys might agree, about 15 years ahead of us
Right.
in this technocratic state where everything they do, I've seen the videos where, if you're trying to get on the subway in China and the algorithm or the camera tells you have to smile, you literally can't even get on that subway unless you smile at the camera. That's how sophisticated this technology has become.
Right. There's actually a grocery store in Taiwan who that you have to go through a monitoring system before you get to enter the grocery store. And the data it's international data. It's not country by country, it's international.
Wow.
So that's where we're going. Now, here in America, we're looking, all you hear is 2030, 2030, 2030. A lot of this stuff will be pushed in America to 2050.
Right.
Because American people are waking up. Trump got elected, gave us a reprieve, but he's not going to be there forever.
Right.
And we are going to have to be very careful who we put in that office.
Oh,
The globalists knew they couldn't get past Trump, so they've come straight to the states.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's wild. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, and so to your point, there's a lawsuit in Illinois about, I think it said 4th and was it 14th Amendment? It cited 2, definitely it's 4th. And it was, but there are 2 people maybe from Cook County, or I don't remember the details, but they are suing because they're saying these cameras are unconstitutional,
Mm-hmm.
and because they're tracking patterns of life, and it's, they can develop a whole kind of profile on someone.
Yes.
And right now, of course, they sell it to the citizen.
Yes.
Your child is abducted. They really pull at your heartstrings. But ultimately,
Did you know that
when
you can
it's
have
not just for, a stolen car or a kidnapping, and of course, any parent would want to use it to find their, something like that. But, it's when the government starts to surveil you because maybe you're a problem because you don't like their agenda 2030, or maybe there's a populist movement going on right now, and both parties are kind of at risk because people are saying y'all are a uniparty. So anyway, so I think that's a really cool case to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they succeed.
Yeah, Illinois of all places too.
Yeah. And I mean, look, we've had crime happen to us multiple times in my town. So it's not like, I'm saying this not aware of the good side, but
right.
I was reading more about that, about how, I was reading about how there's something in Texas. I think I sent that article to you, Roy. It was from 2 months ago, where some Texas sheriff had access. So to your point, Anne, they're sharing this data across the states, and I think you said internationally too, but across the states. And so, but he accessed this system to track some woman in Illinois a Texas woman who'd gone for an abortion. So I just thought you couldn't do the procedure in the state. I didn't know, but now I'm wondering, if you're a citizen of a state, are you not allowed to do that, period? How does this work? And then Illinois said, well, you're breaking our laws.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's wow.
Yeah.
citizen for that. It was crazy. It's like stuff that we don't even think about. But our government never came and asked us, hey, we're thinking about doing this.
Oh,
Let's
no.
all discuss the pros and cons. Like they never did that.
No.
Well, most of this is local. That's why it is so important that you figure out who your local people are, and they're doing it. Oh, well, it'll make us safer. Well, let's see. Who was it that said if you give up safety for your freedom, you end up with neither?
Exactly.
And that's what's happening, is that
Yeah.
we are giving up step by step each a freedom because, well, this will keep us safer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not American.
No. And the funny thing about this is I think we know our legislatures pretty well, right? We deal a lot with election security. We deal a lot with, just different things, right? So, up until probably a couple of years ago, a lot of us didn't even know that we had two separate millage rates in our counties, one for the schools, one for the county. And it's always been kind of hidden. You can't attack the school system. You're attacking the children. Now it's that they use all of these technological advances as, well, this is for citizen safety. They hide behind these monikers to make you kind of shy away from asking. But, nobody is in our government explaining these things to us, breaking them down what they are. And we know that our own legislatures aren't coming up with this, right? They're being hand-delivered this from outside entities from all across these huge cities and these big law time firms that write these things up because there is an agenda in place, and all of our communities are following hook, line, and sinker. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. All of the Innovate bills, the workforce bills, that comes all the way across all 50 states, and all of those bills look the same. And the Innovate and the workforce is how they're implementing a lot of these Georgia districts, the data centers, the workforce high schools that
Yes.
are live-in high schools for different. We have 5 now in Alabama. We have 5.
Did you say live in high schools?
Yes, live-in high schools.
What
And y'all
is
don't
that?
have any yet.
No.
They will be coming.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but all 50 states' bills look exactly alike.
right.
So it's like a public boarding school.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's it? It's a literal version of living in school.
Yes. They're building one right now in Demopolis, next to a hospital, and it's called the Healthcare High School, where they're going to teach 9th through 12th graders a health care job, whether it be nursing, any kind of health care provider job. 6,000 students. There's not even 6,000 people who live in Demopolis, so they will be coming from all over the state, and it will be a live-in high school. Now, my granddaughter has graduated from high school, but no way would I send my 14-year-old granddaughter to a live-in high school 3 hours away. She can't drive. Who's going to be taking care of those
That
kids?
kind of goes back
and
to
what are they teaching?
the Hillary Clinton. What did she say years ago? That you don't have ownership of your children. Your children
Yeah.
are owned by the community. I mean, that's kind of crazy to me. Who on earth would send their child away like that at such a young age?
We have 5 of them. We
Wow.
have one in Huntsville for the space and rocket. We have one in Mobile for math. We have, of course, the Alabama School of Fine Arts has been in Birmingham forever. And there's one more for technology, and I can't remember where, but the newest one's not finished, and it's the healthcare. And it has to do with this workforce. Everybody has to have a job, so
Wow.
we're going to teach them a job.
Wow. That's a little scary, and I bet there's not a legislator that will explain that to you either. So,
Oh, no, they think it's great and wonderful. All of our students will have a leg up. When they graduate, they'll be able to go right into the workforce.
wow, yeah. Again, it's
So are they
Go ahead.
trying like different? It seems like maybe different like ground zero for different aspects of this agenda.
Right.
Because I don't think every state, I was talking to someone in another state a while back, they're like, what are flock cameras? So like, I don't think they're everywhere yet. I've went on a road trip this summer, and I didn't see them in certain places. So it seems like
you may not see them because they may be in the light poles where you can't see them.
Right. Yeah.
They're different, flock cameras, they're different kinds. And trust me when I tell you, it's one of the 17 strategic things they have going on.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, there's so many things that we don't know about, and flock cameras, all of these different things we're talking about, the schools, live-in schools, and the fact that all these things are being pushed at an agenda that comes from outside of our state, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of we're going to move from topic to topic just so we can give you guys a little bit of insight on a whole myriad of things. So I'd like to move into what we are referring to as international ID, or what you've heard of the real ID. I know Amanda's got a couple of good stories. And so just to clarify this real ID, it is the actual stars on your license. I did a lot of research on it. California, I think they have the gold star. There's a couple other states. But just to know how in the dark we are about real ID, I had gotten my license renewed last year on my birthday, and no problem. Went in there and everything was renewed. And this year, 2025, I have a flight booked. The federal government comes out and says everybody has to have a real ID or you can't get on a plane. And my wife calls and she says, "Hey, are you going to be able to make this flight?" And I had no idea what real ID was. Started looking it up and realizing that when I renewed my license last year, my identification already had updated to real ID. It had these stars on it. So this is how clueless we are that these things are moving, steamrolling ahead while we're looking at everything else, right? And it's already there. I didn't even have a choice that I knew of not to have it. So obviously I was able to get on the flight. God only knows. So let's talk a little bit about this. So we'll start with you, Amanda. You've had some stories with international ID.
Well, yeah. So, just kind of the data collection. Of course, you take your license and your passport, and then you go through security. And 2 different times recently, one country I just gave my thumbprint. Another country I had to do, I think like all 5 fingers or something on one hand.
Wow, that's wow.
I can't remember, but I just remember being like weirded out, and I was like, if I had a choice, I wouldn't do this because I don't know what you're doing with my data.
Right.
And where is this all leading? And before 2020, I wouldn't have thought that way. I was Pollyanna. I was not up on things. Right. I was, living life, thought my government was wonderful. And then I woke up. Right. And it's been like a series of like deeper waking up, because then I'm like, no, like I remember when I heard about like chemtrails.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the year ago.
Probably real, but not that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, it's real.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, but back to that. So yeah, so that, and then like some places there will be a person. I've been to some where you're going through, there's no person, but you're giving a fingerprint of some kind, you're scanning your passport, and then it's sure. And there's no consent. Obviously, you're at the mercy of the country you're going to. Right. And so, and then you wonder, now that we learn how our government operates, like, are they just laundering this back to my government? Like, where does all this go? A big international database? Who knows? Right. So that was my international experience.
And can you kind of bring us up to speed on this real ID, these international IDs? What is going on here?
Back in 2005, Congress actually passed it, but people considered it an invasion of privacy. And even in 2005, we still had a little bit of common sense about the whole thing. Europe has really gone overboard with their EITAS. They've had to put it off till 26. That if you want to go to Europe, and that includes France, Italy, Germany, any of the, you actually have to have one of their EITAS international things. And I've seen one, the USA. USA doesn't have to have an international.
Okay.
But the Real ID is specific to gather information on people that they don't have. Now, you were lucky enough that Georgia was just renewing the star IDs before what's her name got in office and said, oh, no. You have to have the social security number, the date of birth, your full legal name, prove your lawful status, 2 proofs of address in America, and then you'll get a star ID. But what they don't tell you, and they keep telling you can't fly. That's not true. If you have a passport, you don't have to have a real ID.
Okay.
I'm refusing to get, they've got all information on me. There is no telling what's in my file. But I'm not getting a real ID, or we call them star IDs in Alabama, simply because I have a passport, because I've traveled out of the country. Now, she's right. I mean, they do weird things with the whole biometrics when you go through the facial scanners and the body scanners. They're actually doing biometric scanning, and that's stored somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah, it started in 2005, but it's just now really kicked up because everything else, they're coming for us because it's getting close to 2030.
Yes.
And they're behind schedule. So that's why all of a sudden we've started seeing these things.
And it really, I guess, obviously we're in much better place with Donald Trump, right? We got that providence from the Lord again. Hey, we've got a chance here. But again, I always liken these conversations to, no matter what is going on in the bread and circus, politics, anything, this technology is steamrolling ahead, right? It doesn't seem that there's an administration that even knows the implications of this, how this is going. It's almost like the dark hand just keeps pushing this stuff forward. And we really don't know. Again, we've only covered 2 topics, but both of them center around data collection, right?
Well, when you saw Larry Ellison on the stage with Donald Trump talking about AI, I just about had a heart attack.
I know.
BlackRock is, it's terrible.
Yeah, Palantir, all of these faces that we've been kind of fearful of, and they're they're right there, shoulder to shoulder. It's alarming.
But Trump is on the right path because we have to beat China. If China takes control of this international AI database, we, the people, will cease to exist.
Right. Yeah,
so he has to do it.
I think you're right. It's the double-edged sword, right? What we're talking about here, other countries, like China, are at a breakneck speed. Russia, we know, all of these artificial intelligent programs that futurists say will be sentient by 2045. We're at this cusp, but if we don't pursue this, then another global entity is going to take it over. It's crazy to me. So, yeah. But yeah, it's something that we need to know. One other thing I wanted to touch again on the Real ID is that I was told a year ago that there would be 4 phases of rollout for your identification going into the digital realm, where the first step will be, we've come out with a digital ID, and right now it's voluntary. You can go on and you can do this, and then phase 2 will be another kind of push into that direction until it becomes involuntary, until it becomes where everything you have is digital. I know insurance companies are moving to digital IDs for that. I know some of this stuff would be natural because of the technology itself, right? So we're not sitting here. I'm not trying to say that it's horrible. It's always in the who has the power to control it, right? But again, I think we're going to get to a point where everything is going to be digitized and everything is going to be stuck in these data centers, which we're going to come up to in a minute. And it's alarming. We don't even know what they have on us at this moment. So,
Yeah.
That-
Go ahead, Ann.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this reminds me of the Amish with some of our travels. We've done like a tour of Amish country and learning about them. They really analyze technology and decide, like, they're not anti everything. They have adopted a phone, but it has to be like in a box outside your house, down your driveway. It's, so they really analyze the pros and cons before just adopting something.
right.
And I'm not saying we all have to be Amish, but it's really wise.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not done that as a whole, And but it's interesting because it's like, well, if they have the right through, with their religion and their beliefs to opt out of certain things like this, then maybe, I would think that would apply to all of us. But
Yeah.
the problem is we're not cohesive enough as,
Exactly.
as a group to kind of say, nope, we're not doing this. I don't even remember being asked about if I want to do Real ID. I just,
No.
you go, you renew your license, and all of a sudden there's a star on it,
Mhm. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, it's funny. You gave me cold chills because I had that exact same conversation yesterday with my work group. We started talking about the Amish. Like, man, they got it right. Somewhere along the line, they knew the evils of this stuff, and they're doing it right. So Ann,
Well,
go ahead.
it's all through the Bible.
Mhm.
I did an AI PowerPoint for one of my friends' religious prayer groups, and I went. They said, we don't understand AI, but we want to know how biblical this is. It's frightening. It is. You go through Revelation, and it's like reading the news today.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we know it's coming, and we know we win in the end.
Right.
But if we have the choice not to accept digital, because digital is the precursor to mark of the beast.
Yes.
So we must be vigilant.
Yes.
Personally,
You said it.
not to do digital bank accounts, not to do. I don't even have a debit card.
Man,
I'm sorry.
I'm telling you,
I can't go down that road.
Well, we bring up this conversation a lot in circles. Like, at what point do we opt out? So, example, you brought it up perfectly, the debit card. It's technologically advanced and blah, yada. We're talking about digital currency, changing over to all these things of which we don't understand or know. But at what point, like, is it going to be, are you going to opt out when, Neuralink is standard? Like, you can't put your child in school until they have a chip in their brain? I mean, these are questions that we're going to have to, I believe, face in our lifetime. I mean, most futurists will tell you artificial intelligence is well on its way to being sentient. Again, around 20,
Yeah.
Actually, they started out 2050 and now 2045, 2043. I mean, this morning, I watched a Mark Zuckerberg video on Facebook talking about super intelligence and what and we're using this software to talk to each other. So it's very scary. At what point do we opt out of these kinds of things? And I guess we just become cave dwellers. I don't know, because I know personally for myself, like, I'm not going to put a chip in my body. I'm not going to allow a UPC code to be tattooed on my arm, all of these things that we've seen foreshadowed. But then they're creating a society where you cannot live without it, right?
And that's when you have to make your decision.
Right. God, it's going to be, I'm telling you, I think we got a little some rough roads ahead. Amanda,
Yeah.
you got anything to add?
well, yeah, just with the church, if history is any lesson, not to be like a Debbie Downer or anything, but like,
No.
when you look at Bonhoeffer and, the confessing church and organizing the pastors, it was, he was so amazing to see that. And, and other pastors later were like, oh, he was right. And I realized it too late. But overall, people could not organize. The ones on the right side of history back then, they were not able, the church was not able to organize fast enough. And by the time it happened, it was too late.
Yep.
And so we should learn from that. But right now, and even like if you take pastors individually and you discuss it with them, they generally as a whole, a lot of them seem to be on, going down the right track with this. but there's no communication and organization, it doesn't seem like, and any real organized effort for the church to push back with this technology stuff and with the government. Not that we're trying to be like Luddites or something, but say we need to slow down, we need to talk about this, so
You're 100% right. I would have expected a few years ago to, I look at the principles of the Republican Party and say, oh, yeah. Look at these churches, look at these families. Most people will tune this out completely. They're just going to go turn the television on, look at the latest movie. They're going to watch the football games. It's the bread and circus. Nobody wants to face this reality until it's too late. And you brought up a really good point. And that's why we're here. If you don't get some skin in the game, get involved in this, if we don't take a stand, because our representation, they don't even know what they're signing most of the time. They're just, hey, sign this and I'm going to give you a couple of cookies. I mean, this is really what this is. And
Right.
But you're 100% right.
And I give speeches all across Alabama about this, the Innovate, the 2030, the WEF, and it is so far over people's heads. They cannot wrap their arms around it. And I just look at it and I'll say, if there's one person in this audience, and I talk to hundreds of people at a time, that gets what I'm saying and realizes what's coming, then I've done my job.
Right.
And that's how I calculate it. It's economics, it's health, it's everything. We are surrounded.
Yes.
And, God kind of said there will be scales on their eyes, and they just cannot fathom that this is actually happening in the United States of America.
Yeah, and again, you're right. And I've as a former atheist myself, who believes that I'm being led through this because I am nowhere near the person that should be doing this. But again, the providence of God, again, is that the three of us are able to speak. The three of us are able to put our heads together and understand this and talk to people and explain to them, because we do win in the end. And I think that's what people need to realize. It might be a little scary. I've get calls every week from people saying, I really like what you're doing. How do I get involved? You just have to pick a place and start, because at some point this is going to affect us, and it will already be full-fledged before you realize what's going on, So we have the power, and we need the numbers. We need people standing up, ladies.
And we have got to quit sending the same people back to make the laws and who are controlling our government.
Yes.
We have got to stop doing that.
I agree.
Because they're not going to change. We're going to have to change them. You're
right. I don't know about you guys, but I'm through leveraging my vote for a color or a brand. I am tired of this. I am tired of being told that, well, you just got to hold your nose and vote. The days of holding my nose and voting are over. You're either going to give me real people that care about the principles and about protecting me, my family, you guys, or I don't want a part in it,
So my philosophy now for voting, what I've adopted sort of for myself, and I'm encouraging others now, and I mean, whatever, I feel like I am being true to my party when we stick to the principles first, right. And not just loyalty to personality regardless, because really you're hurting the party when you're being a Republican who's not really a Republican.
Right.
So anyway, but I am automatically voting for, as a general rule, if there's a new person primary incumbent, I'm voting for that person.
Right.
Like this, unless the only caveats are unless they're absolutely terrible.
Yes.
Right.
Or unless the incumbent's just so amazing. But generally speaking, if the incumbent's just so-so or your average person, go ahead and replace them. Give someone that fresh ideas and someone that's not so entrenched in the process that they've lost that fight in them to be like, no leadership, I'm not going to compromise on this,
That's right.
I think it's healthy. So that's my approach.
I agree. Why would you waste your vote on a primary voting for somebody else anyway. That's your perfect chance to vote your conscience there, because you have the greatest chance of pulling that person up into an actual race. So 100% there.
Well, and also there's people, rarely does someone primary and incumbent win. Go through a lot to run. And if they continue to say, gosh, no one ever wins, why would I waste my time and money? We're not going to have choice. We really need to be thankful for being given a choice and reward those people for giving us that choice.
That's right, and no secret. We live in we're in the state of Georgia that is trying to do everything to take the choice completely away from every one of us. So,
well, you would be very surprised that the state of Alabama is about in the same place, because we're supposed to be the reddest of red. We have a Republican supermajority legislature who keeps passing these liberal laws taking away our rights, and yet to hear them tell it, I can count maybe 4 or 5 true conservatives in the state legislature, but to hear them tell it, they're all Christian conservatives.
Of course.
And my attitude is we're going to have to redefine that.
Amen to that. One thing I think would tie in, because we're going to go to data centers in a minute, we're tying this all in, but one thing I didn't mention, but it's come up over and over again, cloud storage. So also there's a huge push in everything that we've talked about here, right? Everything, all this data collecting now, they're using these highly integrated cloud storage, whatever you want to call them. I know the company I work for, everybody that I know of is now using the cloud storage. The big, it sounds like such a cool little thing. It's the big cloud in the sky that everybody puts their stuff in. But really what that translates to, I think, is going to be the data centers, right? So I think what we'll tie in here to the data centers. So obviously, I will start with you, Ann, if you can kind of give us a clear definition of what it really is a data center, okay?
A data center is a huge warehouse full of computers that stores minute detail on every single piece of information out there. People, businesses, governments, your dog, everything you do on your phone now goes to the cloud. Your refrigerator, if you have a smart refrigerator, your smart TV collects data, goes to the cloud. And it takes massive amounts of storage, because how many 360 million people in the United States, but they're collecting all over the world.
Right. And that's essentially what the cloud storage is. It's data centers, basically, right?
Yes.
So you see the bait and switch there? A cloud center makes you think it's going up into the clouds, and it's just this. No. These are the data centers we're talking about.
Yes.
And we are poised here in Georgia. Our governor has already came out and told us that he wants Georgia to be the #1 state for data centers in the U.S. And just a little bit of a list that I've come up when talking. We now have data centers that are coming to Monroe County, Spalding County, Whitfield County, Floyd County, Bolingbrook. I mean, they are starting to come into our communities, no matter how big or how small, with these huge warehouses that require a ton of electricity, a ton of water for cooling. And they are basically farming stations for everything that we're saying now, going across this digital universe, is going into these data centers.
That's right. And I was looking at, when you asked me about it this morning, I knew about the Georgia Data Analytics Center.
Oh, yes.
Which you said just started in 19. Well,
right.
No, that's not true. It started way back in probably 8 or 9.
Yes.
Because it came along with Common Core, and then they expanded it. Because Common Core was the first step in all of this. They had to dumb down the next 2 or 3 generations in order to implement this global plan. But you've got one company, Atlas Development. Not real sure who that is,
No.
but they have 4 data centers in process in the counties that you just said. Massive.
Gotta write that down.
And I was trying to find out who they are. And in fact,
Yeah.
I came across another company, Baxter, which was started by Eric Bell. But they're talking Noonan, Rome, Georgia, Villa Rica, 700 acres, 2.2 million square feet, 13 buildings, 7 buildings, 4 warehouses. And everything that's going to go in it has every mental health, budget, education, census, anything that deals with anything
Right.
is going to be stored in Georgia.
That's wild. I believe also there's and Amanda, you might know more about this. There's like a 30,000 acre plot that's been sort of deemed for data centers in the metro area alone. It's just going to be one big industrial park of data centers, 30,000 acres. That is huge.
That is, and locally here in a neighboring county, Monroe County, Bolingbroke is a little town. It's part of Monroe. That is where, and I was corrected because I thought that they had stopped the data center. Well, there's 2 actually. That's what I was told. So hopefully I'm giving you correct information, but that the Rumble Road one has gone through. And so that, people kind of woke up to that. And so this other one is supposed to go in Bolingbroke, and I'm not sure the exact location there, but that's like a little bedroom community. It's nice. It's rural, and they keep putting, where I live used to be a rural part of town, and they keep moving apartments out here and building up. And so people move further out, because they don't want to live right next to that. They're fine with a 10 or 15-minute drive into town. And so, but they're planning and zoning the people. They've got signs all over, no rezoning, no data centers, no truck stops, and so planning and zoning listened to people and voted no. So now it goes to the commissioners who can override that. So we'll see, but it's like, why would you destroy this beautiful community, and this country area and put all this concrete on this great farmland? It's just,
That's the global push, right? Never mind
Yes.
the people. We want the industry, the technology, all the, we don't want to agriculture. We don't want to grow our own food and make people more healthy and focus on communities. We're going this full technocratic here. What do you think, Ann?
Well, Bill Gates, who owns Microsoft, also owns all the artificial food companies.
That's correct.
And he's buying up farmland as fast as he
Yes.
can. But you're looking at the push, what we call here in Alabama, Hunger Games, Alabama,
Wow.
where everybody will be in an economic district, and you will have an anchor company, and everything, every person's school. In Alabama, they passed housing development tax credits for business owners to build employee housing and to put in child care inside the employee housing. So that's what you're looking at, where you will all be out in either 15-minute cities
I was about to say.
or in an economic district.
Sure.
That's what's happening. But, the water that's going to be next, Alabama and Georgia already sued each other for how many decades about water rights.
Yeah, and I live right up in the corner too.
Oh, yeah. Well, not too long ago, we had the city take over a private lake.
They took it
and
over.
Took it over and closed it to anybody because they considered it a water source. So, and that's one of the 17 sustainable development goals is control of water.
Yes.
So all these data centers you will start having brownouts because of the electricity.
Right.
There's no way that one state could handle all these data centers
Yes.
and the electric usage. So who gets to pay the price?
Exactly. That's what my number one question is. How on earth is Georgia poised to be the number one data center, state in in America? We do have another nuclear plant that went online a few years ago that was, God, that's a story in and of itself, how many billions of dollars wasted on that. But again, what are these people thinking? I think I was explaining to Amanda earlier. So, the groundwork has already been laid out here.
Right.
In a small town right up here on Interstate Town, there's already 2 different plot locations where for the last 2 years they have been basically storing these water storage units that go on top of these data center buildings. And I'm talking about there's hundreds of them. It's fenced up with razor wire. They got cameras up, and every single day you've got trucks moving in and moving out to take these cooling towers where they belong. So where is this all coming from? This is obviously being pushed from somewhere else. It's not being pushed from the communities. It's not being pushed from our state.
No, it is global. The NGOs, the Economic Development Commissions, and that is a whole different, I could talk about that for 3 hours.
Gotcha.
And that is the Innovate coming from the 2014 bill that was specific. And when I give that speech, I say, what you need to do is you need to go get a copy of Agenda 21 and copy of Agenda 2030, which is online, and match it to what they're telling you. And they are using the exact same language,
Right.
word for word. So we know where it's coming from. But the money, my 3 favorite words is follow the money. And that's the whole deal, is the greed, the economic development, jobs. That's what we have to stop. We have to stop those economic development commissions if you want to stop the data centers and all of the innovate.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. We're definitely going to do a show in the near future laying that out. That's a whole show in and of itself, the economic regions, right?
And people locally, you have got to elect, and we go back, Amanda, you have to elect people who understand that these economic development commissions are there to destroy your community. You will not have any say-so. They will do the whole urban development, suburban development, water development, and we, the people, get shafted.
Well, it's depopulation. I mean,
Yes.
how else can it?
The word they use, decarbonization. So if you ever hear the word decarbonization, that means depopulation.
Wow.
And what's so wild about that? I mean, so like technology is a tool, right? And it can be used for good or for bad. There's some great uses, but we decide how we want to use it. It doesn't, we have dominion over it, not it over us.
Yes.
And it seems they're trying to move towards it, ruling us. And you talking about like these economic where the housing is, it sounds like China, housing with your factory and all. It's not, or go back to the Industrial Revolution at the turn of the last century, in the 1900s, and the workhouses, and I mean, it just doesn't sound. It's kind of, it gives me creepy vibes.
Yes.
Like,
Listen, it's full force here in Alabama. Live in high schools to teach them a job. The companies
modern
gonna give
day
you a place
feudalism.
to live, childcare. The company store.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
reverting back to the old feudalism. You're 100% right. It's true. I didn't until you said it. This is where we started. This was the fight to get us into this golden age we talk about and all this technology, and now it's going to be the entrapment right back in. A company store, 15-minute cities. You'll never have to leave your areas. I mean.
We go from free market capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, where the government and business owns everything.
It's a corporatocracy. We say it in
Yes.
Georgia, everything now is incorporated, down from our political parties to everything is ran like a corporation.
Yep.
And the corporation doesn't care about the people, y'all. Gosh.
Well, you were mentioning about carbon. It's so interesting. So I'm reading, with Maha and stuff, I'm reading one of Joel Salatin's books, and he specifically wrote it to Christians. And he's talking about how, and he's talking about like working with nature, not against it, in the agricultural realm, all the chemicals used and tilling versus how Joel does it, and regenerative agriculture. And so it's a really great book. And his at least before 2020, his buyers were not necessarily didn't have his same values, except they did with food. They were more liberals. The liberals were ahead of us on that, right? RFK and but now I feel like MAGA has like fully adopted that.
Yes.
And because who doesn't want to be healthy? And and so but this book is to his he was like, my people, Christians who are not my customers.
Right.
Now they are more so. They're moving towards that. But it's just interesting because the whole chapter is on, Earth's on a weight gain program with carbon, and then we break it down, and
Right.
and it goes into it, and it's like it's the exact opposite of what this agenda is with decarbonization.
Yes.
You've got to have it to put into the soil and make it healthy.
Well, I'm old as dirt, and we were taught that the more CO2 you have in the atmosphere, the more green we are and the better off we are. So
Exactly.
I just tell people out there, you better learn how to grow food in your backyard. I learned how to can. I learned how to bake bread, and because it's coming.
Yeah.
It is coming. They're like you say, they're going to put concrete pads all over our farmland.
Yeah.
For these data centers.
Yeah. Create the catastrophe. They already have the what is it? They need to create the problem for the solution.
That's right.
Gosh, ladies. Yeah. All right. Well, look, for lack of time, you did touch a little bit on the data analytical centers. I also believe that that's another conversation that needs to be had as well. But we're going right on an hour. So what I'd like to do is, first off, I just want to thank y'all I want to thank Antonio for War Room and for bringing us together, because this is the kind of stuff that I'm always talking about on the phones, and then we don't get a chance to really hit home about it online here, especially due to our political circus. But wow, you ladies have hit the nail on the head, and I'm hoping that our audience out there is really going to think about a few of these things and understand that it's not too late to get involved and to start going to your commission meetings and start voicing your opinion on all of these things that are already pre-planned and set in place, and any back door that they can get in, they're going to try to. So you've got to be vigilant on all these things. But
absolutely.
But Amanda, we'll start with you. I want you to tell the audience how they can find your social media, and I want to give you the last word, and then I'll give it to you, Ann.
Well, I'm on Twitter and but I'm not really I'm not trying to be out there, but I am on Twitter, and and if you're a friend, you'll find me.
There you go. Hey, you got good stuff.
So yeah, but that's I'll let you be the front, Roy.
Well, give us your takeaway on all this. What do you think? What do you think we need to do?
So well, like General Flynn says, you need to be local action has national impact, be involved locally, and then live real life. Like, what's tangible? I mean,
Right.
I'm quick to like retweet stuff because I'm like, that's cool. I'll help boost it and push out that information for people to see. But besides that, like, just live real down. And we could all do more of that.
That's right.
And then it has less data to track, and live in reality, because reality is not Mark Zuckerberg's Meta or whatever. And it's my backyard. It's the random pumpkins that are growing in abundance.
Touching grass.
Here right now. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And same here. We want to know how people can find you, and give us your take. What do we need to do?
You can find me at Alabama Legislative Watchdogs, or just Google Ann Eubank and don't be shocked. And watch some of my stuff because it's out there. And what we need to do is stand up and speak out educate ourselves, educate our children to the truth instead of what the education system is teaching them, and don't vote for incumbents.
Amen.
Unless they are absolutely have always voted the right way and are on your side.
Right.
And ask the hard questions. Why did you vote for another data center? Why did why haven't you done something to stop?
Why don't you even know about it?
Exactly. We just have to get involved. We have to stand up and we have to speak out.
Hey man, I tell a lot of people, like, well, I'm a Cubs fan. I was born in Chicago. When they won after 108 years, that was a pretty great World Series, right? But politics, what we're talking about now, pales in comparison. That's the baseball. Look, this is a fight for our lives, and just to stand up and get involved in any part of it and realize the power that you have, that we have together collectively to come together and sound the alarms and stop some of these things from happening, right? We already know that we win in the end, so what have we got to lose, right? It's what we do with the time that we have now that matters. So, well, ladies, I plan to have both of you back. This was phenomenal. Folks out there, I hope that you got something from this. I hope that you will look up these links and realize that this is not tinfoil hat. This is all a planned agenda. You can go look at Georgia Guidestones. You can look at the Agenda 2030, Klaus Schwab. Any of these things, it's already been written out, and it is steamrolling right into the surface at us, okay? But thanks again to Antonio for War Room. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You can check out all of our social media. You can go to smalltownunderground.com and support my work there. And we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.